Howdy, Tech Drover. They promised us innovation. What we've got was broken coffee machines and mood swings. We all have a love-hate relationship with our mobile phones and the apps, and even those so-called smart TVs. They become part of our lives, and we couldn't live without them. We need them for communication, connection, entertainment, but sometimes these phones and apps, they make us crazy. And we wonder, did the developers ever use these, in the real world? Mobile apps, they need to grow. You don't go for a big bang. You release one, you expand it over time, tie into your market, get feedback from the market. And that keeps providing revenue. But you can't lose sight of what you're doing and why and who cares. You got to keep in mind why people care about your app. So let's talk about some of this love-hate dichotomy we got going on. We love that they're always with us. They're in our pockets, in our bags, they're in our hands. They connect us to friends, family, and work. Even though sometimes that's a leash, we can use them almost anywhere, even out here in the Colorado Plains. They help us find our way and new places. How many of us use the maps and the turn-by-turn navs? I do all the time. But we also hate them. We hate the time killed by ads. But I'm convinced some app developers test their UI on a Ouija board. I know that ads are an important part of the revenue for mobile developers. If we had to pay for every app we used, we'd have a lot less, they'd sell a lot less. So ads are important. But some ads are just terrible. Those ads, they show you a short video, 6 or 7 times. Seriously? Were they not creative? Can they come up with something better than that? They paid for that. Why do they think that's a key to success? I don't get it. Some ads are just broken. A couple of my favorite ones. One ad had a blank white screen. I don't know what it was for. It was a blank white screen. Again, they paid for that. Another one gave a little video, then it showed you a page of JSON. They expect people to parse the data and get something out of the ad? Does anybody even check this stuff? I mean, come on, advertisers, you got to do better. We love that there are a variety of apps for productivity, communication, entertainment, as I said. Some are really useful for a variety of situations. I use the one for hiking trails. That's a great one. So many streaming apps. You can watch pretty much anything from probably the start of TV to now. Lots of opportunity in there. There are a lot of creative and fun games. Some of the best games I've seen are on mobile phones. Just a variety for everybody who likes them. I like the games you get in, you play, you get off, and get on with your life, But we hate games that go out of their way to copy other games. One game becomes popular, all the other games start copying it, at least in their ads. Just be creative. Don't just copy and hope people download your app. Too many games trying to be everything to everybody. Now, I've got one game I like. It's got a lot of different mini games in it. That one's great, but too many games try to cover everything. They're not just one thing. They try to cover everything. I downloaded just Candy Crush with different graphics. Do they think this is gonna compel someone to pay for it? I guess these guys, they only care about downloads. They don't care about revenue or making people happy. It's that magic download. Let's ignore all the uninstalls. Let's just focus on the downloads. One of the smart TV things I hate, I love my TV. It was a good value. Suddenly, I guess it updated, because now when I ask for a channel, I get channel roulette. I never know what I'm going to get. I ask for one thing, it just gives me something totally different. I don't know why. I don't know if they tested it. I guess they didn't. Maybe they'll update it and fix it, but you never know. So yeah, that TV app is working great. Then an update. Speaking of updates, we love that they come out frequently. The apps don't stay stale. They keep adding value. They keep adding new features to keep us interested, to keep us entertained, to keep us productive. But they're not just periodic updates. They happen randomly. It's also nice, you don't have to manual update. A lot of things happen automatically. You start an app, there's something new. Sometimes you don't know what they meant by it, but there's something new. But too many apps, updates, they don't really change anything. I get it. You got a team of developers. You got to keep them busy, so you have them work on stuff that, doesn't really matter. How does that help anybody? Just makes you look silly. Too many OS updates. What was it, a couple weeks ago? 3 OS updates in a week. Did they plan that? Did they mess up and have to try to fix it? I don't get it. Why didn't they group those together? And did they even try to test them? So another thing we love, there are some nice and useful apps, tools, local services. And some of these ads have things that I might find useful. I've bought products because of some of these ads. They were short, to the point. They got their value proposition across. Some of them for tools, for lawyers, for landscaping services. So they're a different variety. But we hate the ads that are overly long. I kind of mentioned one. But some of them are just in the category of what were they thinking? There was one ad, 2 minutes of a couple fighting over money. Do they think we're going to sit there and watch it transfixed about this ad? No, we put our phones down and go do something else and come back later and see if it's done. Another one has a comedian and a sports guy. It's not even the sports guy for the sports they're talking about, doing silly things. It's just, again, they spent their money on these ads. Are they getting the value? Do they even check? We love apps with nice looking, clear user interfaces. We can see what they do, we can get value out of it, we can get on with our lives. Current phones, they got a lot of processing power, they got high-res screens, there's a lot you can do with them, and people are taking advantage of them in these apps. But we hate cluttered UIs, buttons, overlaying buttons. I've got one game, I play it a lot, but there's something I can't hardly click on or tap on because there's another thing lying on top of it, especially after an update, and then they got more things on the screen. I don't know. I guess they think we're all hyper or some on some drug. So some recommendations. When it comes down to it, building good apps, it ain't rocket science. It's just straightforward engineering, keeping your user in mind and really focusing on value. You're not just building an app, you're building a business or you're supporting a business. Maybe some people out there are doing it for fun, doing it to show they build apps on their resume, but serious apps, you're doing it to make money. Keep that in mind. Don't just throw in junk. And you're not coding for code's sake. I've said it before, don't worry about your code or elegant solutions. Focus on value. Why do people care about your app? Why are they going to use it? Why are they going to give you money for it? And you're building an app in an environment, one tap away, quick hit of the App Store, they got your competitor's app. You got to keep them focused, keep them tied in. There are apps I've uninstalled just because they didn't match the ad, even when they say they did, or they just weren't useful. And please plan periodic updates of your app. Don't just do it randomly. Release apps like a good whiskey, planned, let it age. Not too long, but not too often, not watered down. Do something that adds value. Don't just throw in junk because you're keeping your dev team busy. Kind of along that line, keep a small core team of developers to focus on what makes your app valuable, that makes it your app. You can add temporary developers to hit a release or to hit a date, add new features, but keep that core team and don't overstaff it. I was on one dev team, 12 developers for a relatively simple app. Guess how really productive they were. They were really productive about sitting around and talking. And for the love of code, test your apps. Test them in the real world. And keep in mind the real disruption, an app that delivers value time and time again. So if you got ideas, need help, your tech getting out of control, hit me up. Until next time, thanks for riding along. Next up, thoughts over a career.